Hey, happy Friday, and if I look like a zombie, it's because I really had to finish Hades 2 Early Access yesterday at 4 AM in the morning. Anyway, this week Tesla's sales somehow look even worse, Google put even more AI into their search, and Apple started fighting the UK government, and I think they're right. Welcome to the Friday Checkout. This video is sponsored by Nebula. Okay, for my first story of the week, you can't believe it, but things are somehow getting even worse for Tesla. We got new numbers for February, and the company saw its sales in Australia drop 72% year over year. In Germany, they dropped 76%. In Norway, Denmark, and Sweden, they were down by 42 to 48%. In France, 26%. And maybe the scariest was China with a 49% drop. They only sold about 30,000 China-made vehicles, which was Tesla's lowest number since August 2022, which was in the middle of the worst pandemic month. This is the second disastrous month in a row for Tesla, which really starts to raise some red flags. Surely the new version of the Model Y being on the horizon has depressed sales in part, but we also see that other models are suffering too. For example, Tesla's Model 3 sales in Australia were also down an astonishing 81% despite a facelift not that long ago. It's not just EVs doing poorly in general either, as BYD, for example, has sold 318,000 pure electric and hybrid passenger vehicles in the country last month, showing over 160% of year-on-year growth. Geely is up 84%, and even the new entrant Xiaomi with their 20,000 sales a month is now close to catching up to Tesla despite only having a single recently released model. Not a complete surprise since I saw quite a lot of these cars on the streets of Shenzhen already. Tesla last month only had about a 3% market share in China, even if I just take the new energy vehicle segment, which means that even within that segment, they're increasingly just a niche brand in what was clearly their second biggest market. Tesla also just got the green light to roll out what it calls full self-driving in the country, though in China they're apparently calling it city autopilot because I guess the Chinese government didn't want them to lie about it being full self-driving, and since they weren't allowed to train on footage from the country that they captured themselves, the early reports show people racking up fines and their Teslas not understanding the concept of bike lanes in the country. Cool. Now, to be fair, there's also a little bit of good news for Tesla too. Somehow the UK market has bucked the trend as Tesla sales are up 20% there, unlike almost everywhere else that I found. The company is also about to launch their first store in India, which I guess might help. The refreshed Model Y will launch in March in the US, while the Model S and the Model X will refresh later this year as well. So there is some promise there, but 2 months in a row like this does not look good. Okay, and for my second story of the week, Google has a new experiment that you might or might not find infuriating. Specifically, Google made the announcement this week that even more AI is coming into search, including a new tool called AI Mode, which will provide AI-only search. Only search, completely eliminating the classic 10 blue links in favor of getting the AI summary only. You will likely still get links within that, but wild. Just a few weeks ago, when I got served one of these for the first time, Google's AI wasn't actually able to do the crazy complicated task of ranking numbers, so I'm not sure how ready we are for this. Plus, new analysis also shows that AI search engines send 96% less referral traffic to news sites and blogs than traditional Google searches do, so there won't be much of an internet left if we all switch to these, but okay. Apparently, quote, "We've heard from power users that they want AI responses for even more of their searches," is what Google claims, so okay. Anyway, AI Mode is in testing in the US for paying subscribers who use the Google Apps feature right now. Okay, and for my third story of the week, Apple is fighting back against one of the dumbest government moves yet. You've probably heard of the UK government demanding access to users' encrypted data by requesting Apple to basically build a backdoor for them into their encrypted systems that Apple calls advanced data protection. Apple said no and instead pulled that data protection tool from the UK market altogether, leaving UK users with no encryption option at all. But now the Financial Times reports that Apple is launching a legal challenge against the regulator in the next step. This is because the UK government reportedly said that just turning encryption off was not enough. It actually wanted to have more access to Apple systems, which Apple didn't want to give, and now they're suing because of that. The FT says that this was the first time that the UK's legal framework, called the Investigatory Powers Act, is being tested before court, so it's a pretty huge deal. I really hope that Apple wins this because this could have huge consequences even internationally. Okay, and now onto the release monitor, which once again is jam-packed. Starting with Apple, the company refreshed a bunch of their products, including the MacBook Air, which now comes with a cool new blue color, M4 chips, and incredibly a $100 price drop, at least in the US, for both the 13 and the 15-inch models. Nice! I think Tim Apple is confident that he won't have to pay any tariffs on these products. Next, we got a Mac Studio with an M4 Max chip starting at $2,000 and an M3 Ultra for $4,000. Yes, that's an M3 Ultra, not an M4 Ultra, which is a bit odd, but apparently the chip is super powerful, so okay. And last for Apple were the iPad Air and the base iPad models, which also got updated with new chips, and all of these devices start shipping from the 12th of March. Moving on, Volkswagen also finally showed off its budget EV, weirdly called the ID Everyone, this week. It will start at only 20,000 euros and it will also use Rivian's software architecture, both of which make this a pretty big deal. I really dig this design, but sadly it only goes on sale in 2027, which is a bit late. But actually launching right now are Xiaomi's new Buds 5 Pro, which are the first ever earbuds to stream audio over Wi-Fi, not Bluetooth, using a Qualcomm chip. Pretty cool. And meanwhile, also cool are the Nothing Phone 3A and 3A Pro, which look like absolute bangers, especially given that they start at $379 or 329 euros. Great specs, great value, and a very polarizing design, which I personally really happen to like. These are definitely going on my recommended list. And continuing with the bling is Realme's new 14 Pro series, which has finally launched globally. Its party trick is that the Pro Plus model has a cold-sensitive, color-changing back that turns blue under 15 degrees Celsius. Not exactly a feature you need, but it's kind of pretty, plus it's also of course a nice kind of budget flagship phone. And in more conventional designs, Samsung announced the Galaxy A56, A36 and A26, their 3 mid-range phones with new chips, new AI features and 6 years of software updates. That is really quite excellent for mid-range models, and finally you also get 45 watts of fast charging in some of these mid-range phones at least. As usual, everything from the release monitor is linked in the description, and now let's move on to the brief, which I wanted to start with some more futuristic things from MWC. Starting with TCL, who announced in this insanely short video that it can split a new type of display into 3 parts, simultaneously running at 3 different refresh rates. In this case, 120, 30 and 1 Hz, which might save power. Pretty cool. Then in wacky announcements, Lenovo has released a monitor with an NPU built in, so you can presumably add that to a machine that doesn't have one already. Cool. They also showed a solar PC concept, which they say might add an hour of battery life from 20 minutes of being directly in the sunlight, which is oddly much better than I expected. And then there's also this weird little guy, which unfolds from a 13-inch device into an 18-inch one. Of course, the company also released like 74 regular laptops, but don't worry, I won't bore you with those, so just enjoy the entertainment value of Lenovo's weirdness. And moving on, we have big news from space. First, the Texas-based Firefly became the first commercial company to successfully land on the moon, carrying instruments for NASA, and the footage that it captured is absolutely mind-blowing when I'm used to everything from the moon being basically potato quality. Nice. Meanwhile, second, Europe's next big rocket, called the Ariane 6, just had its first successful commercial flight, and it brought a really interesting French-German satellite called the CSO-3 into space. The job of this satellite is to provide ultra-high-definition images of Earth, including night vision with infrared. Europe previously had to use Russian rockets like Soyuz for similar missions, so this is a really big step forward, while the satellite is also very much needed right now because the US has just stopped intelligence sharing with Ukraine, while France promised to pick up the slack, so one would hope that the new satellite would give the Ukrainians a big boost. This project has been in planning for many years, so it certainly wasn't designed for that, but I'm just guessing that it might be useful for that. Anyway, returning to Earth, China has reportedly just told its top AI entrepreneurs and researchers to avoid traveling to the US as not to be basically kidnapped. That's reassuring. And simultaneously, China is also reportedly trying to recruit US scientists as Trump is cutting funding for things like the CHIPS Act, while at least one French university has explicitly decided to fund American scientists who fear Trump's censorship as well. And yeah, those are all signs that everything is going absolutely great. Anyway, in unexpected news, Dig, the old-school social platform, is coming back because its former co-founder Kevin Roos and Reddit's co-founder Alexis Ohanian are reviving it. You can check out the effort at dig.com. And also this week, YouTube has put out a new tier called Premium Lite. It's $8 a month in the US and it offers most videos ad-free. Apparently this only means some categories like gaming, fashion and beauty, but definitely not music. And beside that, you also get no background play and no video downloads, and the rollout is expected in Thailand, Germany and Australia soon. As a premium subscriber who doesn't listen to music on YouTube, I don't hate that, but I'm also way too used to downloading things and listening to them in the background. But thankfully, you can get all of those features and more over on Nebula. This includes new videos too, like my next TechAltar video, which will launch early access there in a couple of days, and will also have a whole second video attached to it exclusively for Nebula viewers. These two videos will discuss what companies like Apple and Tesla are doing in the trade wars, and how their leadership has managed to weather the storm so far, plus what might come for them next. Nebula of course also includes many other fantastic originals like Jetlag, which has just launched a new season with none other than Tom Scott. The first episode was an absolute banger. Nebula is a video streaming service that a bunch of the internet's best educational creators have built for ourselves, and it allows you to enjoy our videos ad-free, sponsor-free, and often early access too. Your subscriptions directly fund us, and that in turn allows us to make better and more content for you in the form of, for example, Nebula Originals. And you don't have to watch alone either, as new Nebula subscribers even get access to guest passes, so you can share a week of Nebula content with your loved ones. And better yet, with my link go.nebula.tv/TFC, which is also linked down in the description, you can even get an extra good discount which brings the price down to just $36 a year. That is significantly cheaper than the $60 it would cost with a generic link, so be sure to use that link in the description. Oh, and if you hate ongoing subscriptions, you can even opt for a lifetime option, while if you want to buy Nebula for someone else, you can do so with a really cute digital gift card. The link is in the description. Happy watching, and I'll see you next Friday.